I actually have a really, really nice, like a $250 bottle of champagne that I got gifted. And it's stored, again, you store it the right way, like sideways and everything. Like I looked up all the ways to keep it, but like I just haven't had a moment where we could have it yet. So I'm holding for like a good moment. Maybe New Year's this year, we'll open it up.
Birth of your daughter wasn't like a good one
Yeah,
to
that
pop
wasn't-
a
yeah.
bottle of champagne, no?
Welcome back, everyone, to S1E1, a show where each week we pick a different sitcom, watch just the first televised episode, and forget anything we might know about the future run of that show, rate it and decide if it's a show we want to greenlight or cancel. This week we're going to be talking about Bosom Buddies. Bosom Buddies went 37 episodes with 2 seasons on ABC. Today we're talking about episode 1, which was called Pilot, originally airing November 27th, 1980. So to get things started, I'm Jay Gags. With me as always, the boys, a different version of the boys, Gordo, Joe, and a returning Russ, friend of the show. How's it going, guys?
Hey.
Hello.
I've lost my yellow friend.
That's not, I thought for sure I knew what you were going to say to start the episode. So, yeah. So, no Nick and Ferg this week. Russ, you were here once before because of your ties to the beer community. This time you're here because we needed someone to fill in. And now you're familiar with our system, so welcome back.
And unfortunately, there's only one Bruise Brothers, so...
But this is another show, the alliteration of BB. So we got you for 2 BB shows.
Perfect.
Russ reached out to me and he was like, are you guys ever going to cover a sitcom that makes a joke about Ava Braun? Because if you do, I'd love to be on it. And I was like, boy, do we got one for you, buddy.
Have the only one.
Well, maybe except for Hail Honey, I'm Home.
Yeah.
So Bosom Buddies was my pick. And no real, like, it's not that I really watched. I don't even know if I've ever really watched the full episode of the show up until now. But I thought it'd be an interesting one to cover, especially with it being like the show that broke Tom Hanks like into the business really. So I thought that'd be a fun thing to look back at because he's such a megastar now. So to go back now over 40 years and see him in like such a lighthearted, dumb sitcom, you know.
I'm shocked I've never heard of it. I had never even heard of Bosom
Really?
Buddies.
Oh,
Yeah.
really? You didn't know that?
Nope, never heard of it.
I've heard of it, and I thought maybe I haven't seen it before, and I recognized the intro, but I couldn't tell you anything about the show other than they cross-dress.
Well, it's hard to not recognize the intro because they give you 1 minute and 38 seconds of intro.
very long intro.
It's a lot of stuff to recognize.
Just guys being guys, though, you know? I feel like they were really trying to hammer home, like, these aren't gay dudes. They're 2 regular old dudes dressing like ladies.
They suntan outside in the street. They work at the World Trade Center.
They wash their hands in the fountain.
This was one of those shows that was always like when VH1 would always do those talking head things like, hey, remember the 80s? I feel like Bosom Buddies would always be like, Patton Oswalt would be like, I can't believe they made this. Walk, walk, walk.
Well, I think what happened, so to go back with a little bit of the backstory of the show, the creators like Miller and Boyette, they were the ones behind Laverne and Shirley. They did a lot of shows, but this was supposed to be basically the guy version of Laverne and Shirley. And then from what I understand, when they were pitching the show, they were talking about, what's that movie now? Now it's slipping my mind. The Marilyn Monroe movie where the 2 guys, like Jack Lemmon and Something Like It Hot.
Something Like It Hot.
Something like that.
So somehow that came up in conversation, and I guess the executives were the idea morphed in their brain, so they thought this whole show is based on cross-dressing guys, and like basically it got greenlit under like the misconception of what the show is supposed to be.
Was there another episode where they were like, and then at one point the president kills one of them, just like Marilyn Monroe?
So yeah, the show kind of accidentally was created, but yeah, this was supposed to just be like a buddy comedy with 2 dudes. Boys being boys. Maybe the intro was made before the show got greenlit.
I think they were really just trying to hammer it home that, like, this is 2 normal old dudes. Like,
Not a part of the gay community.
not at all.
There are so many lines in this too where they're like, you're asking me to cut off more than that, where they just try to keep hammering home like, we have penises, we like using them with ladies. Just it's too fucking much. And also both of them have seriously aggravating Uncle Joey energy in this TV show.
You found that? I didn't really get that kind of. I think there was like like Henry's character had a little bit of Robin Williams in him at times when he was like talking fast with some of his deliveries, but
The way he called Tom Hanks 3 nicknames every time he called him something.
Kipperoonie. Yeah, it's like, all right, cool, we're doing this. I love Tom Hanks. I love a lot of this cast, right? People are in a million things we all love. It's people from Back to the Future and Newhart, and this is 4 years before Bachelor Party and Splash, which is wild to think of. But it's a weird mishmash of everything. It was a weird watch.
yeah, kind of mixed ratings. IMDb has us at 6.8. Rotten Tomatoes critic score 80, audience score 60.
I don't believe that.
It's kind of looked at as a middle of the road show, and you know, going by this episode, I mean, yeah, I don't think it was like strongly good or strongly bad. I mean, we'll get into it as we, you know, go along here.
It would have been interesting if this show is what morphed into My Two Dads. If the My Two Dads were just them, where they're like, we've gotten in too deep, and now we've got a baby, and we have to just keep going with this. We're going to lose the apartment.
But we're not cross-dressing anymore.
Because of Tom Hanks, is it a little surprising that this show is a little bit lost in history?
Yes.
Yeah.
I will say no, because I think there's a lot of Tom Hanks movies too from this time that are sort of lost to history. Like, no one ever is like, Tom Hanks is the greatest actor ever. Don't you love The Man with One Red Shoe? Right? Like, there were some 80s misses, I think, you know what I mean? That like, they're not bad, but they're not like critically lauded, right? Like,
It's easier to push aside like a hour-and-a-half movie and never talk about it again. This went for 2 seasons and then got like some syndication kind of.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, CBS bought the syndication rights off of ABC because Tom Hanks has become a big star. And like,
Yeah.
oh, we can capitalize on this. So you think today, like ABC, if they still, or I don't know who owns it now, but like it would at least be on a streamer. I think the only way to watch it right now, other than illegally, is to buy it on Amazon. I think you can watch it streaming there.
and I believe it was on DVD, so like you can find a copy of it if you want. But it's the thing we always talk about. All these streamers exist. They're all trying to get your money from every other streamer, right? And they all have these huge back catalogs of things that they don't just put on that are free. They already own it. It's fucking wild. There should be some poor fucking department that's just constantly just like making tape digital and just putting this stuff up.
But if it's already on DVD, it is digital. All they have to do is upload it to their thing, and
Yeah, the work's done.
It's not like you need like a remastered 4K version of this either. It's like no one cares if they're going back and watching this.
And this isn't like a Drew Carey show scenario where there's like so much music in it or something. They have to worry about the rights fees or anything. This is just like a 22-minute sitcom with a laugh track.
Well, yeah, that actually kind of segues if we want to get right into the intro. We've already been talking about it. It was super long. It was mainly just footage of just two boys being boys out in the city.
Minute 39.
Quote unquote New York, but the whole thing's obviously filmed in California, but it's supposed to be in New York.
palm trees. behind
Palm
them.
trees everywhere.
Palm trees in New York.
Except for when they cut to their work and they work in the goddamn World Trade Center. That made me so happy.
It would, wouldn't it?
Okay, somebody who worked in that office kept going and fucking died. That's how this story ends.
Is that on season 2?
I think that's season like 22. It's a little later.
Anyways, the original run of this show had a version of Billy Joel's My Life as the intro song. Not performed by him, though. It was someone else who did it. But then afterwards, they went with the song Shake Me Loose, performed by Stephanie Mills, which is the copy we saw. That's why, so like, before we got going, I sent all of you guys the actual intro so you had a better vibe for what you should have been seeing the first time it was aired. But Shake Me Loose was always the outro song, but instrumental version. So I guess that's probably why they were like, oh, we'll only be paying for the song once, and it's probably way cheaper than My Life.
Stephanie Mills also did the theme song to Fletch.
Wasn't that a movie?
It is, yeah. But like
Yeah.
she did the theme to the movie, which was like a hit too. It was like top 40 or maybe top 50.
Now, you guys all kind of, before we hit the record button, all of you prefer the My Life version.
Yeah.
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 I'm the outlier here. I know that My Life is a better
Of course you
song.
are.
It's a better song. I'm not pretending it's not. But for like a lighthearted sitcom intro song, I thought Shake Me Loose was actually a fun song to listen to.
You know, it would have been fun not watching it for a minute 38 seconds.
I honestly think you're right on that one, Gordo. It doesn't matter what the song is. It's just too fucking long of an intro. We don't need to see that much.
Well, it was intimidating because, you know, the standard sitcom sits right around the 22-minute mark, your standard one. And then I click this thing and it's like close to 26 minutes or something. I'm like, uh-oh. But then the intro is so long and there's a long outro and you're like, oh, it's like barely over a normal sitcom in length. It's all this extra stuff.
Besides all the other things that date this being an 80s sitcom, that second song, the Shake Me Loose one, is so painfully 80s that like it takes you out of it. It looks like you're watching a time capsule versus like the other song is very, I don't know, it's more timeless, I would say.
Well, it's a much more popular song. It's a song that you'll still hear on the radio from time to time.
Yeah, I was gonna say it was a pretty big hit, and Billy Joel did a few of those too. He did the theme song for Easy Money, the Roddy Dangerfield movie. That like they do the whole song for that, but it's a movie. Like I'm okay with 2.5 minutes for a movie.
Sure.
Usually because it's a lot of establishing shots and yeah, there's the long title screen.
It's not like two dudes doing 45 different things in the park and stuff. It's
just
so
sunbathing in the street.
It's so weird.
Like getting hot dogs. Yeah.
Did anybody think the scene where he runs, one of them is playing the bass and one of them is running and they slide in and tag him out, that it was just like the scene with Tony Danza in Who's the Boss?
Yes.
Because there's that slow-mo scene in the opening of...
This predates it, so maybe Who's the Boss took it from Bosom Buddies.
That's what I mean, yeah.
Hey, yo, hey, yo, hey, yo.
From the intro, so we've already talked about it for more than 1:37, but the first scene, we see like the sign from the apartment building where they live, and we find out that like new apartments are coming soon.
New condos.
Then you see a wrecking ball hit the side of the building. You cut inside, and you just see the two of them in bed, and they do the shaky camera trick to make it look like the thing's rattling. I'm like, I was like, this is so dumb.
I was like, fuck, we have to watch 20-something minutes of this. Holy shit.
I will say it put a little bit of a bad taste in my mouth early because it was so corny.
Right after that intro, too. I was like, what the fuck am I watching?
Well, it was like, so in theory, this building's set to be demolished. The landlord didn't tell any of the residents, and now they may potentially kill plenty of people inside.
A New York building?
I mean, New York building codes in 1980 sounds actually about right. Yeah, nowadays you think they'd go in and check.
Yeah, these guys were like, oh, might as well just jump out of bed and grab about 3 things each and leave.
Oh, like a lampshade? You're going to grab a lampshade, value $20? Also, this drove me nuts too, right? So they get up, they're like in their sleepwear, their underwear, whatever. They grab like 3 things and they run out. And then they show up to work and they have like their entire hands full of stuff. Did they go downstairs and say, excuse me, Mr. Wrecking Ball operator, could you hold on for a minute so we can get some more stuff? Or is that what we're supposed to believe? I hate that I'm being so analytical about this, but holy shit, that makes no sense.
No.
It was so, like, I couldn't get my head around it. Like, even, like, you know, from that, when you see them at work and stuff, were they unaware? Did they just, like, were they lazy and didn't catch a message? Or, like,
They don't show any of the other rooms, right? They don't show other people, like, running out of the building, so who knows?
Also, are they in a studio? Because their beds are next to the door.
It looks like all these apartments are studios, yeah.
Yeah, all these apartments are studios. When you see the other apartment later on, and there's the 2 twin beds next to each other behind it, you're like, this is so weird. I've lived in terrible situations like that before too. Gordo, I know you've been in similar situations too, with like both of you actually together in the same house.
We had separate rooms at least. But,
we had separate rooms. A sheet separated us.
Oh, yeah.
Well,
you know, 2-bedroom.
We adapt. That's what we do as humans.
My question, though, is why did they not show up to work like in their underwear? Because that's what I was expecting. I was expecting that to be the gag, not in my full professional work outfit. Like,
I feel like they didn't know how to get us started here and to explain that they needed a place to live.
Yeah. And they just rushed right into it. Yeah.
Just shaky cam it up.
And then also, just because we didn't get into it, though, just to mention, we keep talking about Tom Hanks. Tom Hanks plays Kip. The other person in the show, Peter Scolari, who played Henry, R.I.P., passed a good amount, probably like 8 years ago now.
oh, wow.
Yeah, a good chunk of this cast is no longer with us.
And then you had mentioned, Joe, before, Peter Scolari also was in Newhart. I feel like he was, I mean, even in this, I think he's really quick and funny, but he didn't really get, I'm not going to compare him to Tom Hanks because Tom Hanks has like a legendary career, but like, I don't feel like he did enough.
He's the Andrew Ridgeley, right, to the Boy George and Wham. It's that thing where it's like, it doesn't matter if you're talented. The one other guy gets so big that you're just...
Boy George and Wham?
George Michaels.
Oh, I'm sorry, George Michael. I was confusing my culture clubs and my whams.
Yeah.
I apologize. I did just watch Wedding Singer the other day.
I feel like Peter Scolari was great, but it's hard to be great when you have Tom Hanks acting right across from you. And I feel like he just gets overshown like every scene he's in. You want more Tom Hanks.
It's hard to be next to greatness and then try to keep up, right? Like, it's just so hard. And I know we're going to shit on this a lot, but Tom Hanks, I think everyone here can agree, is amazing, right?
I want to mention real quick, because I don't know when else it will come up, but just the, if you guys recall, in that thing you do, he gets, Peter Scolari gets a little cameo there, which is a nice way to get his buddy on screen.
You mean his bosom buddy?
His bosom
Not bad.
buddy.
Try.
But yeah, they get into work, they're holding their belongings, they're kind of mad at one another. So that's why I'm wondering if there's like a situation where someone misplaced a letter warning them about this or what was going on. But again, very confusing. I think Kip is missing his parakeet.
Which is also something that you wouldn't not notice.
By the time you get to work, you probably would have noticed ahead of time. Also, if you're going to think of all that space, that cage took up, if the parakeet wasn't even in it, you could have saved so many of your other items.
Let the bird free.
Well, bird got free anyways.
Or it was stolen. We don't know. It was on a bus.
So while they're talking, there's a phone ringing in the office. And then eventually this woman, Amy, walks in and she's the one who picks up the phone. Amy, Wendie Jo Sperber, she was the sister in Back to the Future. She was actually in a ton of stuff. Also passed.
She died real young, unfortunately.
But she has a crazy amount of credits too.
Russ mentioned earlier, too. She's also one of the main characters in Bachelor Party with Tom Hanks a few years later.
They must have hit it off.
She was in Bachelor Party and Back to the Future in the same year. That is like hitting two giant comedy home runs in one year. It's pretty amazing.
Well, unrelated, but I want to bring it up because it's a similar stat. Jim Carrey had Ace Ventura, The Mask, and Dumb and Dumber all come out in the same year. So, like, holy shit. That's always my, like, glowing example of, like, what a year someone had.
But he probably didn't film them all in the same year. So,
And I'm sure he probably got way less money than he should have for that because he was just the guy coming off of In Living Color. And they were like, yeah, you're going to be in the Pet Detective movie and your asshole will talk to people. And he's like, yeah, I'll do that. Sure, why not?
Yeah, because he filmed all of them before one of them came out. He didn't quite blow up yet. So,
Yeah.
I'm sure he's doing okay.
I'm not too worried about him.
Yeah.
It all worked out.
But then he got to be birthed in a rhino's butt.
Classic.
The greatest movie we've ever seen.
So anyways, when Amy hangs up the phone, she walks right over to Henry, and she does not hide at any point in the show that she is very attracted to Henry. And
Thirsty, as the kids would say, I believe.
yeah.
She's hitting him with some Riz.
She is.
She's a depressing character. When she's like, I'll wait for you, I'll wait years for you. That's like genuinely depressing. This woman has such a low self-esteem.
Or she just knows what she wants.
Yeah, she could get anything that she wants too. She's a hottie.
Yeah. I feel like the show made it seem like she's not hot, though. I feel like they
Me
made
too.
her out to be like the ugly little sister that no one wants.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, she was like, slightly overweight, like nothing like crazy. I mean,
For the 80s, I guess if you're not like 90 pounds, then you're like the fat
well,
friend.
yeah, when you compare it to, we'll talk about her roommate later, but I mean, that was like the prototypical like woman of that time. Henry's explaining the situation to Amy, what just happened to them with the apartment. She offers like the potential for like, well, if you ever need a place to stay and all this other stuff.
Yeah, why does she offer her place to stay if they can't stay there?
She should be aware of the no mail policy of her apartment building.
Yeah.
Also, what kind of apartment building doesn't let like a dude stay over?
Yeah, right? Is it a convent?
It's a convent or it's like a college dorm for like, that's a big thing where like dorms that were like segregated from.
Most of them will at least let you sign someone in and have them stay a night, though.
Right. And this is freewheeling 1980s New York. You could like walk outside and people would just be like, heroin, who wants heroin? And they're like, no men allowed.
When he was done talking to Amy, walks back over to Kip, and Kip's saying like, she's really in love with you. And he's like, shh, that makes me uncomfortable. And he's like, be uncomfortable. And then he's saying, I wish I was her. You want to be in love with me? And he's like, no, I just, it'd be nice to be in love. And, it happens to everyone else. It'd be nice if it happened to me. And the irony I want to point out, by the way, is Tom Hanks met his wife on the set of this show.
Really?
So in real life, his wife to this day, he first met when she had a small role on this show.
Rita?
Yeah, so they got together years later, but this is the first time they actually met in person, was doing Bosom Buddies.
There was magic in the air.
So I do think it was kind of funny as he's talking in character about, wanting to find love, but this is actually the set where he met his actual, forever partner.
That's sweet.
And by the way, they work at an advertising firm. I didn't mention that, but that is their occupation. It sounds like one's more the artist. So Kip's more the artist type, and then Henry's more like the editor and, the less creative of the two, I guess. But they do work as a team.
I think that's a good team, though. And I think that's just as creative, right? It's good. I mean, they make the joke and they go through the whole don't squeeze the Charmin thing, right? Where like the whole Mr. Whipple character and all the art of that is important, but you remember the catchphrase, right? The writer.
Well, the strength of
no
in any duo, though, too, like not every, like if you have the artist or the person who's good, like you could be the best chef in the world. If you can't run a business, your restaurant isn't going to last, right? So you need someone who can, strengths and weaknesses. So just because Kip is a great artist doesn't mean that he's the best at presenting and doing all the other things. So like any team.
Yeah. And I mean, later on, they do make the Charmin bears that have the little teepee on the butt. So Kip gets his due eventually.
What was that Charmin joke? Because I meant to Google it and I didn't.
Okay, hold on. I figured you wouldn't, and I actually had that noted.
It went right over my head. I was like, huh?
It's one of the biggest like ad campaigns of all time. It ran for like 30 years. It's there was a grocer named Mr. Whipple, and a woman goes into the grocery store and she like goes to squeeze the toilet paper to see if it's soft, and he always tells her don't squeeze the Charmin.
That was the tagline. It was like that was just the theme of every commercial was don't squeeze the Charmin.
Because you knew it was soft.
So I'm sure it was great, but
that wasn't them who created that. That was their boss, Ruth. Like that was like her claim to fame is like.
No, he said I created it and she stole it. I thought that was the joke.
Someone else. Ruth created it inaccurately. So this is actually right when we meet her anyway. So Ruth is played by Holland Taylor. You would know her from she was the dean in Saved by the Bell, the college years. You would also know her from one of Gordo's favorites, 3.5 Men.
Yeah.
You'd also know her as the police captain in Cop and a Half with Burt Reynolds.
And just in case you're newer to this show, I know it's not 3.5 Men. Gordo didn't know it was 3.5 Men.
The show with Charlie Sheen? You thought it was 3.5 Men? Who's the half? Do they have a dog?
He added a man.
He added a man because there was a third character that came in. I see the logic somehow.
Oh, Ashton Kutcher was the third man?
Eventually.
But
we lost a man, so it all balanced out.
True.
No, I was very tired that day, Russ, and I said 3.5 Men.
It happens.
But she's talking about there's a review for the last campaign or whatever they did from her boss, the guy who probably runs the place. And they're excited to find out what he thought, and then she just kind of opens up a folder and tosses out all this shredded paper. So their last pitch for whatever it was that they were working on, I think it's this female clothes company, right? That's kind of how this is all being tied in.
Yeah.
But they totally whiffed on it.
I was mentioning Uncle Joey energy, and then I just remembered now too, there's like the whole 2-season story arc where Jesse and Joey are advertising meow, 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 meow. Yeah.
He's Henry's telling his boss how all the shit that's going on with them and how Kip and I have no place to live, and she's like, be grateful you still have a place to work. So no sympathy on Ruth's part.
I thought that was a great line.
Yeah, very typical boss.
She comes in and they're just piled all their shit in their cubicles, right? Like that's, as the boss, you're gonna be like, what's happening here?
It is weird that she acted like they had a whole lot of stuff though, and it just kind of looked like a few suitcases and a birdcage.
Right, it's not too much.
If I found out the real situation, I would have been more like, and that's all you have?
Yeah.
I would have said, why are you bringing your poopy birdcage into my office?
I've never seen an office bird. People don't get those because they're loud and they poop a lot. Makes sense.
Yeah.
Birds have like smells. When you go into a house with birds, you smell it.
At least it's not like in Macau, though. Nothing makes me sadder than people who are like, I got this great bird as a pet, and then when I die, I will force it upon somebody else because these things live for like 212 years. Like, that's a bummer. Plus, also, your bird's going to be like, oh, my fella died, and I got a long way to go.
Yeah, they do get depressed.
Yeah.
Although I did see a video recently about a bird that did not like its owner, and he was dying of lung cancer, and the bird would recreate his wheezing and hacking. And it was horrifying because the bird would be like,
in fairness, it might not be that he doesn't like them, but they just mimic the sounds they hear. It's not through hatred.
Yeah, he didn't then
maybe
yell
he's-
"fuck you" at him after, did
Maybe
he?
he's just rashing on him. Like, oh,
Yeah, dropping L's.
He was smoking, giving him the finger.
Yeah, birds scare me. Like the ones that talk, like they scare me.
We have blue jays in our backyard, and they just like dive bomb at you if you're near them. They come like very close because they're very like weirdly protective. So I'll be like mowing the lawn. They're like flying right by you. It's fucking terrifying.
mine are fine. I like them outside.
Yeah, I handle it like a champ because the lawnmower is so loud, no one can hear me go, "Ah!" when the bird flies by. It's perfect. The neighbors can still assume I'm half a man.
So you're the half a man and 3.5 men.
There it is. I'm glad we got there.
Was the other half?
He went bye-bye when I was about 18.
So Root's telling them, all right, so we don't have time to stew on this bad work you guys did. I need you guys to have an entire new campaign by Monday. So they have to start from scratch through this whole thing. They have a few days. They have nowhere to live. So I don't know like the plan to get this done, but we're adding to all their stress, and you know the timer is ticking for them right now.
I like this too because it sets a clock for the episode, right? You know it's Friday and you know the episode's going to end on Monday. Like it's pretty set up to be like, okay, well, this is going to be their whole weekend is the episode.
And the whole thing, and like she kind of doesn't even hide it. She makes it known that like she needs them to succeed to get herself back on top.
Yeah, at least she's not lying about it.
Yeah, because she basically lost the Charmin account. This is when it actually comes up because of her line that was originally written was don't chew the Charmin? Don't eat the Charmin.
Don't eat the Charmin because it sounds like squeeze. But as Coneheads taught us, eating toilet paper can be a delicious snack.
Ew.
Oh, I'm sorry. Do you think Beldar was wrong?
I mean, a little bit. I mean,
It came up ahead of time and I wasn't prepared for the Charmin thing to come up earlier. But I do want to make note that in my notes, right under the line, it says, Gordo, Alba, do you get this reference?
I sure didn't.
I mean, I did as the resident poop master. I did. I have heard of the Charmin campaign.
Old pop culture stuff I know Joe will probably know, especially if it's odd and obscure, but
Even if I knew it, I probably forgot it. So
There's a real odd and obscure one coming up in a couple scenes where I was like, I can't believe I know this, and then a weird anecdote about it.
So the next scene, we see Kip and Henry as they walk into Amy's apartment building. I was a little confused with like how this is advertised. So it's a hotel?
Yeah.
Is it an apartment building or a hotel?
I think it's kind of both. Like, you know how there are like pay by the month hotels?
Yep.
I think it's one of those, but it's for women only, and yeah, I don't know why you don't sign a lease, I guess, or you sign a month-to-month lease. Maybe it's so you have a better control of kicking people out. It's probably like a weird New York thing of like, this way we're not tied to you being here for a whole year. If you do something wrong, we can just boot you legally.
do you guys not talk about Winthrop?
We do.
We
Oh, okay. I was going to say the Winthrop Arms is one of those. Like people live there for months and months at a time and stuff, but it's also a hotel.
Yeah, I think they call them like extended stay hotels, maybe is
Yeah.
like the technical term for them.
We did some of that at the other hotel in Winthrop, and it was always a pain in the ass. Like, I don't understand why you would do that to yourself. The Crystal Cove was like that, I think, before they became a hotel. They were
Well,
like,
some people are not in the best of situations when they have to do things like that. So
Right.
we had a reputation for like week to week and being a bad flop house, basically, and always problems. Always problems across the board. It doesn't exist anymore, so I can talk about it. It ironically got raised to be condos. So,
Crystal
everything.
Cove?
Like
That's-
everything
yeah.
else.
That's condos now?
yep.
Oh, I thought it was still a hotel.
Nope. It's condos.
what I thought was interesting here, well, I guess this isn't interesting. I think it's just bad continuity in writing.
That could be interesting.
But they're coming in, and this is the whole like, I don't know if this is gonna work. And he's like, oh, just talk to Amy and just mention, casually that we need a place to spend the night. She said earlier, if you need a place to spend the night, and now they're going in like they need a master plan.
Yeah.
And now it's like we need to concoct some weird plan to ask her if we can sleep here. It's like it was a minute ago where she said you can stay over at any time.
Yeah. Why didn't you just ask her there?
I feel like he doesn't want to stay there though, because he knows that she's gonna like make advances on him or something.
Sure, but just the way it's being presented now just doesn't coincide with anything that's been said earlier in the episode.
And also, poor you, some pretty girl wants to, sleep with you and you're single. Like, come on.
Did anybody else get the feeling though? Because then eventually they show the apartment, right? And it's like, well, it'd be kind of hard for her to put the moves on him because there would be another bed right next to her. But then I immediately thought of that scene in Forrest Gump where she just touches his leg and he comes. Because Tom Hanks, right? It's like, I bet that never happened in home ec.
Is that what happened in Forrest Gump?
Yeah. He gets all soaked and wet. He beats up the guy who's... No, this is when Jenny is it when Jenny's dancing naked and he says, get that girl a harmonica? No, she's still in school. It's before she gets kicked out for taking the Playboy photos in the sweater. Then he goes back to her house in the rain. He's like, Forrest, come in here. And then she tries to put the moves on him. She puts his hand on his thigh. He makes the I'm coming shiver. And then she goes, I bet that never happened in home ec. And then they laugh. And then they cut to the roommate who's sleeping in the bed next to her, just making a mortified face. It's one of the weird fucking scenes. A lot of weird sex scenes in Forrest Gump.
Joe's watching Forrest hump over here.
Yeah.
Hey, if you watch it correctly, every scene in that movie is Forrest Hump.
And then Jenny ran out of the room and went, he nutted on me. That's probably too topical. That's so if you listen to the episode right away.
Can link it.
That's not actually funny. It's funny, but it's not funny.
No, it's horrible, but
yeah, it's terrible. It's a terrible thing to do. So they're going over this plan, and they are talking about like we should have just taken that last place we saw. It's like what that place was $600 and it smelled and it had rats. And I was like, wow. I mean, again, I know the times have changed, but the idea of a $600 apartment sounds pretty nice.
Well, here's the insane thing. I did the inflation calculator on what a $600 apartment would be now. It would be $2,300. Getting an apartment in Manhattan, even with rats and cockroaches, for $2,300 is not anywhere near possible.
Yeah, it's a steal.
And that's why I don't do research, because I know Joe did that.
There's other things you could look up.
It doesn't have to all be me, you know.
Yeah.
But you're so good at it.
You edit. Every time you say it, I'm just like, Gordo edits.
I would just mess it up if I did research. I would just mess it up. You do it.
So as they're comparing the apartment they just looked at to this one, they do note that this building is significantly nicer. And as they look around a little bit more is when they notice that, hey, it's all girls here. Which they just think of as a positive, like, oh, there's all these pretty girls at this place, but they didn't put two and two together just yet.
Wouldn't there have been a sign outside?
They didn't read it. They make the joke later.
Well, there's a sign inside that we find out about later, but...
I'm sure there was a sign outside, too.
They don't seem like the reading types.
Just out of curiosity, because I don't know the reference, when Kip says, change your tune, Montavon, Joe, is that the weird reference you get? Because I had no idea what it meant, and I tried looking it up, and I still didn't get a clear answer.
No, I think that was Montavani, who was a composer, is the reference they're making for that.
Oh, all right. Because I looked it up and I typed the name and I even wrote like composer and I didn't get like any solid answers. And I was like, okay.
I'm not crazy, right? I didn't look this up, but Montavani is a composer.
Montavani, an Italian conductor and composer. But they made a lot of old like the bird's name is like an old French artist and stuff. Like there's a lot of old school kind of.
A lot of like music and art jokes, yeah.
Well, the whole thing is Kip is an artist, right? So he probably has of him making references like that and naming his pet accordingly are all because like that is his actual interest. As they're walking over to the elevator, that's when we get that girl, Darlene, the one who works at the desk at this hotel. And she's like, all right, muchachos, freeze. And she like holds up this spray can towards them like it's a gun. And she's telling them it's all mace, but it is discovered that happens to be a can of Cheese Whiz that's pointed at them.
What is that shirt she's wearing right there, Jay?
She's wearing the Susan B. Anthony hotel shirt, the place that the women are all staying at. A shirt that, if everything goes accordingly, today will be available on S1E1pod.com on the merch tab. So go and check that out if you want a Bosom Buddies shirt. It's not even a branded S1E1 shirt. It's just a straight up Bosom Buddies shirt created for those of you who are interested.
Do you like us? Do you like Bosom Buddies? Do you like women's voting references?
Do you like Susan B. Anthony?
Yeah, Susan B. Anthony, why not?
Do you like S1E1 but don't want anyone to know you like S1E1? Support us that way with an unbranded shirt.
Exactly. And buy one for your bosom buddy.
They're actually on sale. Buy one, get one half off. So you can, we'll send you the difference later.
Oh, yeah, I was going to say, Joe, don't say that. That's not a real sale. Don't listen to Joe. Just whatever the price is when you go on the website, that's the price.
Yeah, that's the price. We're not paying you.
Venmo request at J.
Yeah. While she's like holding the Cheese Whiz can at them, this is when the elevator door opens up and you see Amy, and Amy sees like that Henry's in danger and like in fear, like drops her laundry basket and jumps in front of.
She doesn't drop it. She throws it and clothes go everywhere.
She was going to take a bullet for this guy.
That's love.
Yeah.
Don't shoot him. Shoot me.
Like, how can you not? I mean, hey, you can take that cheese. I'd be like, hey, let's take that cheese whiz upstairs.
Then later on, he finds a picture of her and she starts disappearing. And he's like, oh no, we have to get and stay in this hotel for a really long time.
What?
Have you not seen Back to the Future?
I mean, I have like a long time ago.
Now we know you haven't. Hold on.
Describe the plot of Back to the Future.
Doc and Michael J. Fox go back to the future. They go forward in time and then they go back to the future.
I'm gonna give you a real softball question.
Okay.
Michael J. Fox's character's name is what?
McFly.
What McFly? What's his first name?
Marty McFly.
Okay.
All right. That is a softball. But
Hey, your kids are going to love this one.
yeah, I think I heard an episode it was recently, but we made that joke. It's your cousin.
Come on, Biff. All the characters. Doc.
So anyways, to get back into all this stuff, this is when Amy's trying to say, hey, these are friends of mine. And Darlene's like, well, didn't they read the sign? Like, this is a hotel for women only. And that's when you see the sign that says Susan B. Anthony Hotel. And, Darlene walks off. And I'm thinking, but they can't just visit. Like, you can't forget for the night. For all they know, like, they could just be coming to like hang out for an hour. That's not allowed either.
Yeah, like there's no at all allowing of any men in.
Yeah, it's weird.
And maybe that's why Amy's so horny.
He hasn't seen a man other than at work.
Yeah. So every time she goes to work, she's like, Aruga.
Which again, it doesn't make sense that she told him, Henry, to come stay at her house whenever, when she literally can't have men at her house. They can't even walk in the front door. Like, what?
Yeah, they get assaulted going into the lobby. What if they were like, hey, I'm the fucking pizza guy, lady. Give me a break. Like, you never know.
That's the Ava Braun reference we get here. She certainly gives credence to those rumors Ava Braun made it out.
I mean, I laughed at this joke. I think it was a funny joke, but it is weird now. Like, I feel like we've seen so many shows, too, where it's like, I love that it's 2024 now, and like, I don't know, we're just allowed to shit on Hitler forever, and that's my favorite thing ever. Like, they won't, like, censor you, be like, are you making fun of Hitler? But like, yeah, but like, you can pass. That's great. We're all good with that.
We do find out from Amy now that guys are allowed in the lobby. So I guess that is the stipulation.
Apparently not.
Well, she says they can, and that's when she brings him over to the couch. But yeah, no, they were like, well, maybe that's why they almost got maced. Well, Cheese Whiz maced because they were going towards the elevator.
Oh, maybe. Yeah, that makes sense.
So maybe that was the threshold where it's like, okay, you've gone too far.
What if they were like a repair person, or putting carpet in, or exterminators?
Only women. They can only hire women exterminators and women carpet people.
I mean, I'm okay with that. That's forward as well, but it does seem discriminatory.
So they start talking, and it's like, oh, we were going to ask if we could spend the night, but I guess there's no point now. And Amy's like, oh, that would have been perfect. Like, my roommate's out of town this entire weekend. Like, I'll fix up the couch for you. Like, it'll be great. And Kip's like, we can't stay. Like, it's impossible. Like, and Amy jumps right in with that. Well, it's impossible if you look like a man. And I was kind of like, that idea came a little too quick. Like, it was just like, here's the premise of the show. Just jumped. Like, there was no thought process, no brainstorming.
She's been thinking about that one for a while. She's like, I'm going to sneak a guy in here and dress him like a woman so he can fuck me in my room.
Yeah, it was like an immediate response, and it was just too quick. Like, obviously you don't want dead air here, but I don't know. The way that whole situation came up with her just kind of dumping that on them with like no thought at all. Like, I don't know. It felt really, really lazy to me.
It was like one of them should have turned to the camera and been like, this is the conceit of our entire show. And like gone to commercial.
And they could have done the exact same thing when they opened the show with the wrecking ball hitting their house. It's like, hey, this is why the show's happening.
Guys, guess what? We don't have a place to live right now. Isn't this going to be wacky?
Yeah.
I do love too. She's like, you can sleep in my bed and you can sleep on the stove to Tom Hanks.
Yes.
Tom Hanks just smoking a cigarette curled up on the stove, watching Scolari get down.
Hey, my cat does that.
Smoking a cigarette, watching you guys get down.
There's a cigarette.
No one watches us get down. No, my cat sleeps on the stove.
Do you have like little safety things just in case to make sure?
I was just thinking, it was like, that they can turn the gas on in your sleep, right?
Live your life, do whatever.
No, because she jumps up on the counter and then she just walks over and then she sleeps on the stove.
Your stove electric or is it gas?
No, it's gas.
So to our listeners, if you see us next episode and Gordo's not here, he exploded or had a... This is the gas leak we keep talking about. We're always like, Gordo, is there a gas leak in your house? We've actually found out what the reasoning for it is.
Well, what sucks is if she's got tummy issues. So sometimes she has tummy problems and then I have to lift it up and then cake it off the inside and put my head where the gas is.
I like that you said cake it off, not clean it up. Cake it off to me says take the big parts away and leave the other parts there still.
They eventually dry up.
Yeah.
This stopped being a fun conversation.
Is there some pasta in the burner that's cooking? Like, yeah, it's pasta. Don't worry about it.
Well, moving right along from there and hopefully out of my memory for the rest of my life.
Why is there corn on the stove?
So Henry's on board with this idea of like, yeah, we can just dress up like women and stay over. And I guess like because of that ad campaign they're doing with Blow City, you know, they have some clothes available for them if they need them.
I feel like that was like a joke we make on this show. But like, oh, where does he work? I don't know, fucking Blouse City. Like, it is such a fucking terrible name.
When Tom Hanks goes, we're not that desperate, I felt like that was the most Tom Hanks delivery from Tom Hanks. Like this.
Yeah.
It was like an SNL character playing Tom Hanks.
Yeah.
But doing a voice.
Like that, it's from that line is what everyone bases their impressions off of.
And they are that desperate.
Well, yeah, that's what Henry's laying out. He's like, Kip, we have no place to stay. We have an entire ad campaign to put together and we need to find a new apartment all in a weekend. I'm saying that's pretty desperate.
And I would agree.
I will say this. I was desperate to find a place to stay in New York once in the middle of the winter, and I just slept in an ATM booth.
I've done that before.
Yeah, you find a way to get through it.
I slept. Oh, me and Gordo. We slept after a show in Rhode Island. We got a ride back with the band and slept in a hotel lobby in the middle of Boston.
We did.
And I made it to school on time, and you wouldn't wake up. And I think you got woken up by the police in the hotel, right?
That story is the most makes sense of you two have ever heard.
Yeah, we went swimming in the pool at night. I do vaguely recall that. And then I remember you guys got on the bus and I was running out from the police and I could see you guys in the back of the bus. And that's when I went, okay, fuck it. And I took the red line home.
I forget how I got to school. I definitely took the train and a bus, but that was a long night.
Yeah, we were drinking 151 the night before, I remember.
151 and Mad Dog is the worst combo ever.
That is a bad combination. But you still went to school. That is the difference between being a teenager and an adult. Like, were you just like, well, I can go do 6 hours of something now? Where now I'd be like, I'm taking a week off of work if I made that combination go into my body.
Yeah.
So Kip saying how this whole thing is nuts, and Henry's telling him, well, you're an artist. You're allowed to be crazy. Think about Van Gogh. He cut his ear off. And that's when you get the, I know, but you're asking me to lose a lot more than that.
The second he said Van Gogh, I was like, here comes the cut my dick off joke.
I mean, you can't have a Bosom Buddies episode without a dick joke, right? I mean, come on.
So they both leave the front lobby and the camera kind of hangs on like the door area. And you get the time lapse, like the swipe to later in the day. And now you see the two walk back in, only now dressed as women. And you have that one like bearded dude who just like takes note and like gives him the smile. He's very into at least Henry.
He looks so much like the character Ellis from Die Hard that I was like, is that Ellis from Die Hard? And like look up, like try to look through the IMDb. Like, was that like just a walk-on role before he was famous? It's only like 7 years before.
Nice that he was there to just visit a lady in the lobby.
Ladies, man.
I mean, he's just in there. Maybe he's just in there smiling, waiting for someone to, maybe that's his game, right? You just smile. You miss 100% of the shots you don't take scenario.
Now, from there, they're looking for Amy's room. They find a girl, Isabel, and they ask her, I want to know, outside of Joe, do either of you two recognize this woman?
I could click on Google real quick.
From another popular sitcom.
No,
I popped right away.
Nope.
No.
It's Aunt Rachel from Family Matters.
Yes.
Oh.
I've seen a lot of Family Matters, but I don't even remember who Aunt Rachel is. So I definitely...
She disappeared at one point.
She just disappears at one point. She was also part of Dawn, the band Tony Orlando and Don. And song like knock 3 times on the ceiling if you like that song that was like on the oldies radio our whole childhood. She's one of the ladies going ding 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 in that song too. So what a career.
Playing the cowbell?
The pipe.
I bet you she plays pipe.
So she's telling them, yeah, I know where they're at, where she's at. She tells them the room number. And then she's like, hey, are you two farm girls? I mean, like, you're big, like really big. And I'm like, she's bigger than Henry. Peter Scolari's not a very large man.
Yeah, he's like 5'7".
She's only shorter than Tom Hanks.
Tom Hanks is only 6 feet tall. Like, that's not cause for alarm.
Oh, really? That shows you how small Peter Scolari is. Yeah, because he looks like a monster next to him.
I looked that up because I was like, Tom Hanks does not look that big.
Compared to the other two standing there at that time, he looks like a bigger guy. And he's not, he's slender in stature too, so.
Yeah, but aren't they in high heels?
I don't think so. Are they?
I thought they were in heels because when they go down the steps, they're kind of sidestepping.
But if they're both in heels, they'd be the same. That would still even it out.
Okay.
So they head back to the elevator now because they're going to go to Amy's room. And now Darlene, that woman from before who works there, spots them. Only this time it's, hey, I don't believe I've seen you two around before. Oh, no, we just, we're here from Canada. You know,
When you learn their names, right?
this is when we find out their lady names. And when Kip announces that Henry is Hildegard, I think you see Tom Hanks laughing. And I know in theory it's supposed to be Kip laughing at what, like, basically pulling a prank by making this his name. But I think Tom Hanks was legit laughing. That, I mean, I know he's a super great actor, but that felt authentic.
A lot of this show was improv, and it made me think that this is the pilot, and they were like, just go with it. And they said that, he laughed, and they were like, that's it, we're going with it. Like, and they kept the genuine response in, because if they were just improvising a lot of the scene, I feel like everybody feels a little bit like they just had an outline here, and they were just going. The reference I was going to bring up is they mentioned Margaret Trudeau at this point, who at that time would have been the wife of the prime minister. She's the mother of the current prime minister of Canada, but she had just at that point been famously photographed sitting outside of a Rolling Stones concert and an upskirt with no underwear on, and it was like a huge, like uproarious thing.
Oh.
And I know that because it's on a DOA album cover from that year, because they're like a Canadian punk band, and then they got in a lot of trouble and they had to reissue the record without that. So it's like the only reason I know that, but like I know who Margaret Trudeau is because I've seen the picture of her upskirt like 1,000 times because I have that record.
And I'll Google that later.
Yeah, I was going to say, I will put that on my incognito queue.
If we put that in the stories, it's going to have to be a little muted, but keep an eye out. S1E1 pod. The name for Kip in this situation becomes Buffy.
Way less funny than Hilda.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the thing. It was like, oh, you look like a Buffy. I never thought so. And I was like, he's like taken back and offended by the name Buffy. You know, maybe we live in a different world, right? So like Buffy the Vampire Slayer and all this, like we know Buffy to be a name.
You mean that great movie and that terrible TV show?
But in 1980, Buffy maybe has no context, you know, so people don't think look at it the same way.
No, Buffy at that point was like a rich person name. Like Buffy is like a rich by the pool millionaire name, right? That's like the millionaire and his wife type of name from
I would think
Gilligan's
Muffy
Island.
is.
Muffy?
Muffy.
Whose name is Muffy?
Whose name's Buffy? Like why is one weird and one's not?
They're both weird, but I've never heard of someone named Muffy.
Oh, God, softballs here.
What about your softballs?
Not softballs if you see Muffy, if you know what I mean.
Muffy is actually the name of that picture of Margaret Trudeau that I was talking about a minute ago.
What was that commercial that had the kids speaking
That's
Spanish? Muzzy.
Muzzy.
Dishby, are you?
Yes, that's Spanish. Those kids are speaking.
Lizzie, look off, Lizzie.
And no, they're not.
And no, they're not French.
Yeah, they're American.
So when these two walk off, they're going to head over to Amy's room. You get that shot of Darlene, like kind of, I don't know who she's talking to, but she's sitting at the counter. This is the line I thought Joe was going to start with, was when she goes, nice girls, probably virgins.
It was an option.
And then after that, we get to them like on the next floor. They got off the elevator and now they're on Amy's floor. And Henry's like, Hildegard, I knew a Hildegard. She was the ugliest girl in my junior high school. It's like, you knew a girl named Hildegard?
And again, that feels to me both like the scene feels very improv, and I think that's why it's so funny.
They knock on Amy's door and she's like getting everything ready for them and opens the door. And she's like yelling just in case any neighbors hear, like, oh, hello, girls. Come on in, girls. it's nice to see you girls. And then shuts the door, goes, hi guys. I don't know why I thought that was really funny, but
She's really hammering in the girls part through the hallway.
the hi guys tag at the end of it is what sold the whole thing.
Oh, see, I did not like that. That like got on my nerves.
Well, she's being annoying in the beginning, but the hi guys is what balanced it all at the end.
I didn't find it that way.
So she's telling them that they look adorable and they're looking at the apartment and like, oh, this is pretty great. She's offering Henry a beer. And then what did she offered?
A pink lady.
A pink lady, but what? I don't know what a pink lady is. Is that a girly drink or something? Because I only know it as an apple.
Yeah, no, it's a type of drink. It's got eggs in it too. It's like one of those weird egg white drinks, like a slow gin fizz.
Ew.
Different than a pink squirrel, which is the drink that Crystal always drinks in Roseanne, if we're sticking with pink sitcom drinks. I used to know smart things. I don't know why this is what my brain retains now.
Jay, you would love it. It's a gin-based cocktail with grenadine, gin, and an egg white. That sounds kind of gross, but
It's a
I'd
little,
probably try it.
it's a weird combo of things. There's no like soda water or anything to cut it.
No, it's like in a martini glass, like the round martini glasses. I forget what they're called, but
Nah, I mean, if you would cut that with like some soda or something, maybe.
I just don't want to drink eggs.
you don't. It doesn't taste like eggs, though.
I've had drinks I've had cocktails with
Yeah.
egg white in it.
I have too. Yeah.
It's not like that's not why I buy it. I'm like, oh, good, some protein in this drink.
Eggs.
I'm gonna get ripped and ripped.
Grenadine is so sweet, though. I feel like if you don't cut anything with it,
I love grenadine.
yeah, Shirley Temples are awesome. But
I used to make dirty Shirleys all the time. I don't know why, but I did.
so what goes in it? It's ginger ale, grenadine, and what? Like vodka?
Yeah, you just throw vodka in there.
Or you could do bourbon too. It's just a highball with grenadine at that point.
Yeah, I didn't. I did vodka. That was before my bourbon phase, which I'm currently.
I remember being a kid and thinking that Shirley Temples, I think it's advertised that way. When you would go to a restaurant and get a Shirley Temple,
You thought you were getting drunk?
no, my parents almost sold it like it was a special drink that only kids could order.
Yeah.
So it made it seem super cool. So like you'd go to a restaurant and get a Shirley Temple because you're like, ooh, I get to have Shirley Temples and you guys don't.
That's probably what's fueled my need to get a drink every time I go out now. I'm like, ooh, it's special. I'm out. I better get an old fashioned.
Feel my need to get one every time I go to the fridge now. I'm glad that this is what's been going
Yeah.
on these years.
Thanks, Mom and Dad.
Unlike the Shirley Temple, though, I've never had a Roy Rogers.
I've eaten at a Roy Rogers.
Me too.
But the drink is what? It's Coca-Cola and grenadine?
Yeah.
Ew.
I think the
It's
idea
just
was
it's cherry juice and Coke. That's not that weird. People drink cherry Coke. Yeah.
It's just weird, though.
I don't like cherry.
Oh, I love cherry.
Cherry's like the grossest of the fruits.
Oh, I love cherries. I have a cherry tree. I call him Russell. You'll appreciate that. Its name is Little Cherry Seinfeld.
That's cute.
I have some cherries in the fridge right now.
Yeah, it's not my thing.
I have cocktail cherries. I don't have like regular cherries.
Maraschinos.
Maraschinos.
Oh, yeah.
The heavy syrup.
But once they take that bath in some ginger ale, good to go.
You say take a bath with some ginger ale?
The cherries, not a human being.
That would require a lot of ginger ale.
Like if you made a Shirley Temple and you threw some cherries in it.
I don't have a bathtub. I just have a standing shower, so I'm out.
Well, you get some waterproofing on the doors and just fill it up like it's like a death tomb for you.
But moving right along. So they're looking around the apartment, and when Henry's asking Amy about it, she's like, oh, it's only $150 a month. It's like, Jesus Christ.
Times have changed.
Yeah, well, I didn't do the math on this one because I did it for the 600. But if 600 is $2,000,
Yeah, this is a fourth of the price. It was like 20. Yeah, so
Yeah.
yeah, you're talking about 600 today. Yeah.
so a clean, nice apartment that it's a studio but with a kitchen that's like a door,
For about $600. Yeah, it's not
$600
bad.
a month. Like, yeah, people would be going crazy for those. But instead, some fucking real estate firm or some fucking investor would just buy them all and flip them for a bunch of money and make it so people couldn't afford them.
Oh, yeah.
America.
So, so as they're talking, we get a knock at the door, and you have like the chain that's holding the door shut. So, but through it in the crack, you can see Amy's roommate, Sunny, who was supposed to be gone for the weekend. And she's, asking Amy to let her in. Joe, did you look her up? Do you know who she is?
I knew who she was immediately from one thing.
So that's Donna Dixon.
I love you, dream woman.
Yeah, you might know her as the recently separated, but longtime wife of Dan Aykroyd.
Yep, and she's also in Dr. Detroit with him.
I was going to mention it earlier because you brought up Coneheads, but I was like, it's kind of early. We don't meet her till way later in the episode.
But she's also the dream woman from Wayne's World that Garth is always seeing when Foxy Lady comes
really?
on.
The Foxy Lady one?
Yeah.
Dan Aykroyd and I were in a movie together once.
I honestly thought we'd make it through an episode since this one was from 1980 where you wouldn't bring up the abomination of Ghostbusters 2016, but here we fucking are.
Wait, Dan Aykroyd was in that horrible Ghostbusters thing?
Yeah, so they all were. All three living ones had cameos.
Harold Ramis was smart enough to be like, I'm out.
Yeah.
I think this isn't even a joke. I think I'm in the movie more than all three of the original Ghostbusters are individually. All quick cameos.
Not a brag, man.
While Sonny's at the door, earlier when they got settled in, Tom Hanks had taken his breasts out, which I guess were just cotton balls, or this is the makeshift. So now they're...
I think it's popcorn. Oh, he's putting popcorn in.
Yeah. To try to get him busty again before Sonny opens the door.
I mean, to be fair here. He doesn't need to be that busty. She doesn't know his bust size.
That's true.
That's true.
I mean, and also too, I mean, he can have uneven boobs. He can, there's a lot to play with.
All right. Yeah. So,
Gordo advocating here.
Breasts all different sizes. No one knows.
so when Sonny finally walks in, she's talking about how she was supposed to meet some choreographer, but it sounds like it was all kind of a front and this guy was just trying to get with her. And it was at like some, apartment and
In a
He was in the
bathtub.
bathtub. Yeah. Not full of ginger ale.
I know we like to track these things. When he's stuffing the popcorn into his bra, there is just one studio audience member who fucking loses it. And
Oh,
I love
yeah. I was
so much
actually gonna
when
bring it
one
up.
person just goes, "Brah!" You're like, Jesus, man, it's not that fucking funny.
that wasn't popcorn though. That was cotton balls.
I thought it was cotton balls.
It
I
looked
thought it
like
was popcorn
cotton
from the
balls.
bowl they were eating out of. They had like the bowl of popcorn.
Cotton balls.
I think he just put them into the bowl when he was taking it out of his blouse.
Oh, I thought he took popcorn. I thought he took cotton balls out and she had a bowl of popcorn for snacks. He put popcorn in. To be fair, also, we're not watching the cleanest.
Well, the show's from 80. This is actually the only episode that was filmed on film. The rest of it was on tape afterwards. So
When we get that 4K version, we'll figure it
Yeah,
out.
we'll
Get
figure
to
it
the
all
bottom
out.
of this.
once they do the extended cut fan episodes,
They just overlay this episode on it.
quick tangent. I can't believe the quality they were able to turn the first season of The Office into on those
Yeah,
super
it looks like a
episodes on
totally
Peacock.
different show.
Oh, I haven't seen. It looks like
You've never seen it? It's
good.
in
No.
like crystal, it's in 4K, crystal clear. You're like, how? How did they do this?
Well, they already have the digital.
Yeah, those weren't shot on like tape. This
Yeah, those
one.
were digitally shot.
They are of a quality that did not exist when they first aired.
Yeah.
It is crazy. Go back and look at it. And if any of you listening do the same. So yeah, so Sonny's telling this whole story, and Kip is just love at first sight the second he sees her. I mean, she's a very attractive woman. So
And she has the 80s like long butt. Oh, that's not till later though.
Yeah, the 80s long butt.
You gotta love 80s long butt, man.
It's also one of those things too where everybody in the 80s, like their under for everything was just like a full one piece.
Like a one piece. Why? It's so
yeah,
weird.
like a one piece bathing suit was just what you put under everything back then.
just so it's inconvenient to go to the bathroom forever. Yeah.
I was going to say, how do you use a bathroom?
You
Pull
take it
to the
off.
side, man. No, you pull it to the side. You pull it to the side, man. Come on.
Saves
Imagine
time.
dropping a deuce and having to hold that like off to the side.
I imagine at that point, Gordo, you take it off. Second of all, why are you the way you are?
Well, I mean, you have to hold it like, like a tension rod.
I mean, if you gotta go, just go and hold it to the side, man.
A tension rod?
Well, you know what I mean? Like the
You have
tension
to hold
things.
it like a tension rod.
Yeah.
Well, you have male bits. You could probably like scrunch it to the left or something, and be fine. Might stay put.
Well, yeah, because I got nuts.
Just tuck
The
it
nuts
to the left of your
are
nut.
big and they would, they would catch it.
Russ, can I have one of your beers? You fucking can't right now.
So she's continuing to tell the story and talking basically about how she's, kind of ready to give up on guys. And Kip's like, men are such slime. You need a sensitive type, an artist perhaps. Henry's like, oh, like your friend Kip? Too bad he got in that horrible accident. And he's like, what? Like, didn't you hear? He was bludgeoned by his roommate.
I was happy because they make so many easy jokes in this where it's like, I just took my last Midol, wah, wah, wah. Where like this seemed like it was clearly going to be another like he was castrated by a wild, like, they didn't go penis joke on this. I was a little proud of their restraint.
This was another, like, I don't know, it felt weird. They're already invited to stay by Amy, so it's not like they needed Sonny to almost come up with the idea, but it was like, hey, I have this wonderful idea, Sonny. Would you mind if we stayed the weekend? And it was just like, I don't understand. Like, you were already invited over. Like, all Amy had to say is, oh, I thought you were going to be gone this weekend, so I told these two that they could stay. I hope that's all right.
First of all, knowing the situation that's at hand, it's going to be really uncomfortable to spend the weekend there.
Well, I imagine that the idea is one sleeps in the bed with Amy and Tom Hanks sleeps on the couch.
No, I mean, just like, do they have women's undergarment? Like, do they have
how do you
night-
keep this facade up? Well, before Sonny was going to be there.
But they have wigs on. They have other things on. Like
the wigs are going to be hard.
Yeah, before Sonny was coming back home, it was a lot easier because it was Amy knew their identities, so they could strip it down. But yeah, now they have to basically sleep in with wigs on and full, body nightgowns and whatever.
I hope that one of the deleted scenes when we get the fan episodes of this is that Sonny opens the door to one of them standing up peeing like in Mrs. Doubtfire.
That's one of the weirdest scenes in the movie.
That's one of the funniest.
Even as a kid, I was like, why? There had to be another way for the kid to figure it out other than just watching her dad piss.
Yeah, but not one that's going to be funnier. Yeah, the funniest way wins.
So, in any event, Sonny is like, yeah, that'd be a great idea. And we get like that next scene, which is just kind of, again, it looks like it was a commercial break situation. So it's later in the day, same place. And Henry says, hey, can you guys excuse me for a minute? I just kind of have to powder whatever it is that I'm supposed to powder. And he goes to the bathroom and it leaves the other three there. And Kip's trying to sit with Sonny. So as he's trying to go onto the couch, you have like Amy like run out of just to make sure she was in between the two of them. And they get to talking and he's asking Sonny about how she's a dancer and does like all this art stuff. Sonny just like, she's home and she's around other females. So she's like getting, a little undressed as these conversations are going on. And, she takes her top off first. But again, it's like, Kip's like, oh my God, when she takes her shirt off, but her shirt
she's wearing another shirt.
Yeah.
She's wearing another shirt, basically. Now it's just her arms are exposed. That was like the only real difference.
At least, though, this was a very 80s Tom Hanks bit of physical comedy when he's like trying to crawl over the couch and everything.
Oh, yeah, when he takes the middle seat back.
Yeah, that's like the key of this scene is just for him to do physical stuff. And I think that anything else is sort of secondary to that.
She's explaining, like, I do have a day job, too. Like, I don't just do dance work. Like, I'm a nurse. He's like an angel of mercy. But all she really wants to do is do, like, the dancing. And she's just trying to find actual work without being put in a situation where it's just a dude trying to, fuck her in a tub.
Aren't we all?
To be fair, she could also be a stripper if she really wants to dance.
It's a different kind of dance. That's like the difference between like, I want to act and then you just do porn. It's not the same thing.
You could be the guy that's leaving.
Could be the cuck.
Exactly.
You could be the guy on the other end who they call to fix the refrigerator who's too busy or fix the whatever they get stuck in.
You could be the husband that's being texted.
I don't want to entertain these conversations too much, but
here we are.
Sometimes in those adult movies, those types of roles, the people who literally have no sex involvement, the ones who literally are just actually delivering something or starts the scene off, you're like, how do you cast for that?
You're an actor. You have a reel. You have a headshot.
Yeah, I think plenty of people are like, I'll take the $100 for the 2 hours of work, right? It's just work, right?
Do they use like other porn stars that are just like nearby, like on set?
I don't think so.
I'm filming later, so.
Yeah, I think that they cast for that and they probably just pay like scale.
So if you are directing porn out there, reach out to me. I will be the guy that delivers the package, but not that package.
Hey.
Not that package.
If you were cast in an adult movie in a non-pornographic scene, fully clothed, legit doing acting, you're the guy at the store that they go to before they go home and fuck whatever. Would you be embarrassed for your family to find out?
No.
Not at all.
No. And you can put it in your reel because it cuts right after your scene. So you're good.
Yeah, it's nothing dirty.
Yeah.
What was that porn that was like so good a quality with Pirates or something that they recut it with the non-porn version with like just the regular scenes?
Pirates of the Caribbean?
It was a Pirates like type of movie. It was something in that like realm.
Yes.
Well, there was that guy who's got those tentacles. I feel like, you could probably do some work with those.
Yeah, could do some damage.
But yeah, I know what you mean, Jay. I forget. It was some hugely, like, maybe the biggest budgeted adult film of all time.
Yeah, it was like so, allegedly it was so good that they cut the, like a PG version of it that they could put into video stores and stuff.
It was still better than any sitcom that Netflix produced.
I'm just saying, I'll take the acting credit. Just so whenever Jay brings up Ghostbusters, I could be like, hey, I was in Ghostbusters too, but I was delivering a pizza.
It is Pirates. Pirates was the most expensive. It was made in 2005.
Pirates.
It was 15 years ago. Yeah. Most expensive pornography movie ever produced.
That's like the very end, though, too. Like, we talk often on this podcast about like things before and after. 2005 was probably like the last year people were still buying enough of those, like in physical copies, that like it was worth it. They could make their money back. Now no one would ever put that much money into something like that, unless it was a passion project.
I'm sure plenty of people are passionate out there.
It's like Caligula.
Well, anyways, Sunny starts talking about how she can't get a break in the town. And she's like, I'm a good nurse. I can run an entire hospital, but, it's always good to like look for something else, and she says, do you know what it's like to be always looking for something and never actually find it? And Kip's like, I know exactly what that's like. And she's like, I guess it's my fault. I should never be allowed to make any decisions. I always make the wrong choices, wrong jobs, wrong men, wrong dreams. And as she's saying that, she took her skirt off. This, Russ, I believe, is what you were referring to earlier with long butt.
80s long butt.
It was an 80s thing. It was before all the milk hormones.
And right around when she's like more exposed at the bottom there, that's right when Henry walks back in and sees her and he goes, oh, good job, God.
And she's in front of a mirror too, right? So you're getting to see him act in front of her too, which is a good shot at least.
And then also when they're talking, Sonny's bringing up, hey, there's an apartment right across the hall that just opened up. You guys should move there. Kip is 100% down because he wants to be near this girl every waking moment. And Henry's being a little bit more logical in that he doesn't want to have to live a life in drag.
That's hard. Yeah, that's a hard thing to keep up all the time.
But if they're not staying with the girl anymore, then they can just dress up whenever they leave the apartment. So at least at home, they won't have to be wearing like fake boobs and stuff.
But later on, you see that they all have like random floor parties.
No, it's not. I mean, there's a difference.
Only when the champagne
You can always
pops.
lock your door at the end of the day.
True. You just gotta hope there's no like fire alarms or anything.
Or wrecking balls.
Well, they seem to get through that one pretty okay once. I guess it's like lightning striking you, right? If it happens once, it's probably pretty rare it'll happen again.
So as they're kind of mulling over whether or not they should look at this apartment is when Isabel walks in and she's talking about she was doing this modeling campaign earlier for a champagne ad. And, the little devil on her shoulder told her to, take some of those champagne bottles home with her. She decides to, crack one open in Sonny's room. I did not like this at all. If you guys caught it, it cuts over to Henry and Kip. And Henry says to Kip, let's get Sonny drunk. And he says it like
I did not catch that.
He says it like such a fucking creep that it was like, I went back and listened to it again. It was like, it was so uncomfortable.
I watch these shows very intently. I take notes, but sometimes when a show is not working, sometimes there are scenes where you're like, scene missing, just glazed over, and I did not catch that.
I caught it, and I was like, ooh, that wouldn't fly today. Nope.
It was so uncomfortable. I'll send it to you guys. It was fucking weird.
To that end, though, Russ, I think about 90% of this show wouldn't fly today.
Yeah, probably not.
Kip, to his fairness, shut it down. He said, that woman is a saint. Right after that is when the door popped open and you see this blonde girl in like a nightgown. And it's like, did I hear a cork pop? And then just invites all these girls into the apartment. I don't know if that's okay,
the
but
alcoholic
sure.
neighbor across the hall who hears a fucking cork pop and goes running out because she might get a quarter of a glass of free champagne because
hey, everyone, there's a bottle of champagne in here. Come on, 20 girls, let's all run in.
Yeah, that'd be me if I lived next door.
I hate champagne.
It's not my favorite, but it's like bubbly and fun.
that's a wedding only thing for me now. Like if I'm at a wedding and everyone's doing a toast, like
You have to drink warm champagne that's been sitting there for 45 minutes.
Oh, I love that. They're like, we'll put it out now and then we'll all drink it later. Like, oh, this will be delicious. Thank you.
I guess like
Yeah.
on New Year's too, like if everyone does like a champagne toast, I'll take part. But
I think that's the last time I had champagne was New Year's, but at least it was
I'm
cold.
not really like champagne and wine. That was never really my thing to begin with.
Only cold duck when I drank.
Cold duck?
Yeah, champagne. Andre, cold duck.
It's like the
Andre?
$5 grape.
It's like the
jug?
$3 champagne.
It's the jug of champagne.
Yeah.
Like Carlo Rossi.
No. This is different. This is like all sugar. This is closer to like Boone's Farm or
Night Train.
one of those things. Yeah, it's like grape night train.
When we were younger, there was a time where I was buying those like bottles of like Andre strawberry champagne or whatever, and like for like $5.
Same company.
I actually have a really, really nice, like a $250 bottle of champagne that I got gifted. And I want to like, and it's stored, again, you store it the right way, like sideways and everything. Like I looked up all the ways to keep it, but like I just haven't had a moment where we could have it yet. So I'm holding for like a good moment. Maybe New Year's this year, we'll open it up.
Birth of your daughter wasn't like a good one
Yeah,
to
that
pop
wasn't-
a
yeah.
bottle of champagne. No.
Here's the thing. For me, it would have been, but I thought it would have been a little rude for my wife who was not about to be able to drink.
She still can't drink for a little while after, right?
Yeah, it would have been kind of rude if I was like, I'm just going to guzzle this whole thing. So I celebrated.
How long is it post giving birth until you can have a drink?
It depends. If you're breastfeeding, you're not supposed to drink, right? Yeah.
Oh, that's true too. You have to time it out.
Yeah, you time it out. So we went out for drinks once and we were walking, nobody was driving, so she had a couple. So then yeah, you just can't breastfeed that night. So the rule of the game on that usually is you like keep backups like frozen. So you can like thaw it out and use it so that if you have drinks that night, you don't have to worry about it.
Sounds like you should have popped the champagne.
Yeah, it does.
Well, but I mean, like that day, like also you're on a lot of very heavy medication because you just had a major thing happen, and they're like, you probably shouldn't pour alcohol on this trauma that you just did to your body.
Or you do. And see what happens.
Sorry, babe, I'm celebrating, and I'm driving home.
You want some of this?
No, you're good? Okay. I'll just finish it then.
So, anyways, with all these women in the apartment now, the two of them are taking note, and I think this is when Henry's starting to come around with like, well, I guess it wouldn't hurt to check out the apartment, because knowing that this could be his life now. In the next scene, we see the two of them checking out the empty apartment, and it's like that one. It's so small though. Like, so it's weird to like, I get New York apartments are tiny, but to watch it and you see them walk into this tiny studio and go, wow, look at how nice this apartment is. In my head, it's like, no, it's not.
If they live in New York, then yeah, that's pretty spacious.
For one person though, you'd be like, this is a steal, right? Like
If you're by yourself, I don't want to share a room with someone like that in a studio.
But they're already roommates, so like
right.
It's not that different.
And their last apartment was the same thing, 2 twin beds in 1 big room.
But we've all been in like roommate situations before, and I mean, at some point you need some personal space, and if there's literally one room and the only time you're not physically with the other person is when you're in the bathroom, but your kitchen and your bedroom and your living room is all one big open area, like that's just, you're physically near a person too much in a day. There's nowhere to hide.
It's like college. That's how like college dorms are.
Yeah, it's more like a dorm room. Yeah,
it's
you're
not
right.
fun, but it's cheap. That's why you do it. So,
and at that point too, it's an adventure. You're like, this is like I just got out of high school. It's my first place, right? Like, yeah, it's hard to do that when I'm guessing these guys are like 25, 26.
Yeah, they don't say their ages. But yeah, sharing a bedroom with someone, that's a little, I don't know if I'd do that as an adult.
You share a bedroom with your wife, don't you?
No, I'm a good Christian man. Separate rooms.
But yeah, the two of them are going back and forth about the idea of like, should we take this apartment? Henry, again, doesn't like the idea, like, I have to basically live a double life as a woman now just to live here. And, you know, the idea of all those pretty girls is being used to kind of manipulate his thoughts, but it's working. I think when Henry really started to come on board with this, though, is when Kip kind of got into his brain about the whole, but you're a writer thing, and this could be good for your writing career. Because there's a lot of lines from Henry where he's very self-deprecating, where he doesn't feel like he's adequate in his job and like a good writer. And he always kind of felt like Kip was the more talented of the two of them. So now Kip's like, well, think of the piece you can write if you live here. Like, you can have this, if you're here for a year, you have like a best-selling novel like on your hands, you know, because that story is so unique.
And he builds them up too, because he's like, that could be a nice little article. It's like, or a nice feature, or a best-selling novel. Like, he really pushes them up, yeah.
And I think that's what really finally gets him like, you know what? Let's do this.
Yeah, what's the worst that's going to happen? You're just going to get kicked out?
Could there be legal repercussions to something like that?
They could call the cops, but like
if this is like supposed to be some like safe place for women and like you're a male like in disguise, like I wonder if there's some sort of a like conduct code thing that you're in violation of.
I imagine there's paperwork though, and then that means you're lying on a contract. Are they paying with check? Or are they paying in cash?
do they ask for IDs?
Yeah, anything? Can we scan your license real quick?
Things were easy back then. Like IDs were literally just like laminated pieces of paper with like a picture inserted in. Like it.
Actually, in 1980, New York might have not even had pictures on their licenses yet. So I think that came in most places in the like early to mid 80s. So
Yeah, I forgot because we just covered Taxi, and in Taxi they weren't picture IDs yet when that show came out.
That's insane. It's insane to think that IDs used to just say your name. And, like, people would take you at your word. Like, yeah, this is me. Oh, okay, great.
I guess back then too, though, like in most states, the drinking age was 18. So like, you know, you'd have to really tell somebody was younger. Like people are like less people. You get 3 less years for people to try to do fake IDs.
Have you guys ever seen like old licenses your parents had or anything like that? Like those old ones where it was like, literally, it was just like a piece of paper and the picture was like as if you just did it yourself and put it through a laminator. So the idea of like you could counterfeit something so easy back then.
Yeah, but not really, though, because laminators and
A
stuff.
laminating machine was so expensive back then. You wouldn't have one at home like you do now.
I mean, that's the Simpsons episode where Bart steals the laminating machine so they can make fake IDs, right? Because nobody had access to them.
Yeah.
I am saying in general, though, it's easier to, if you could find a laminator or anyone who's making them, like if there's a company doing it, you know, if someone's doing them in the alleys, it's still easier than now where they have barcodes and holograms and all these things like embedded inside the ID.
I'm looking at one right now. It's not a license, but it's like a name tag thing with like the photo and everything on it for like a manager. It's like a piece of memorabilia I have from like, it's the manager of this band. And I'm looking at it right now and it's literally just a cut out piece of like a picture from like you're getting your photo booth picture taken and it's just laminated over. Like you could just walk into anywhere with one of those and be like, I'm this guy. Like it's so easy. That's Charles Bronson for all of Death Wish 2 when he's trying to make the ID so we can get in to go kill Nirvana.
Oh.
For all you Death Wish 2 fans out there.
I don't recall.
After that conversation that the two of them have where they kind of finally settle on like, you know, let's go ahead and do this. We have what I assume is like flash forward to now that they're settled into the apartment and it's being lived in. It's just the two of them getting ready in the morning and they're just singing Macho Man by the Village People.
No, sir. You are not picking up the subtext of this. He literally comes out of the closet singing the Village People. That is like the most like, holy shit, guys. That is so over the top. That's on purpose, I think.
Maybe I'm being ignorant. I didn't think that it was done on purpose, but maybe it was.
I would like to know if anybody else listening thinks that too, because that's immediately I was like, he comes out of the closet singing Village People.
I didn't catch him coming out of the closet.
But also, I would say this show wasn't known for like clever writing, so I don't know if they're hiding little Easter eggs in there either.
I will say this too, though. This should have been the end of the episode.
Yes.
Everything after this feels completely superfluous and like tacked on. And I was like, there's another 3 minutes of this, guys. No, this is it. This is fine.
Especially where it ran a little long, you know, so they could have ended very easily on this scene because it's basically the two of them. Finally, they're in their decision, and now here they are in the apartment, and they're getting ready. They're shaving, so they have shaving cream all over their faces, but they got their wigs on, and they're working out and singing Macho Man. Like,
I think they wanted to button it up with them going back to work and showing more work dynamic and get the boss in there. I think that's the only reason they did it.
I just wish we cut something else out then. Yeah, like that could have been episode 2 to me. Like this, if they were singing Macho Man and it freeze framed was like a Miller Boy at production, I think that would have been totally fine.
Because after that, we have the scene where we see everyone leaving the apartment building around the same time. So the elevator opens and there's way too many people in that elevator, but like basically the whole apartment building's dumping out at the same time to go off to work, with Kip and Henry being two of them, you know, in their female attire. you see them like go to some outdoor bathroom.
Like, I'm assuming it's a gas station.
Yeah. So I guess that's going to be their lives now. They're going to have to get changed in this random bathroom every morning, but that's how they work around them having to leave the house dressed as women and then go to work soon after dressed as men.
Superman had a telephone booth. Hildegard and fucking Henry have a...
Oh no, Henry's his real name. Buffy.
Yeah. Hildegard and Buffy have their gas station bathroom.
Well, they probably don't have cars because they're in New York, so I feel like they would have done the car thing if not.
Yeah.
So they get to work and we see Ruth. Was it Ruth?
Ruth Dunbar.
Yes.
So Ruth's looking over their new campaign that they worked on over the weekend, and they never show them working on it, but we do see that it got completed. And she's reading over everything, and she's like super into it. And it's like, oh, well, we are very familiar with the material. Yes, we've recently been getting into women's clothes. Waka waka.
Get it?
I guess that insight into the life of women helped them with their perspective, so their new campaign seems a little bit more on point. She's like, oh, I'm going to go show the boss, and she leaves, and she's saying, you know, this is going to put me back in the driver's seat, and walks off. So they go through all this work, and it's not a surprise, right? She said from day one, this is all to get her back on the launching pad.
And again, this also feels tacked on though, because this is where they're like, you know, I just wanted to be together with you because I think we make each other better. Like, we already believe they're going to be together. They just signed a lease in an apartment building where they have to cross-dress. We are aware that this relationship is going to stay for a while. Why are we adding more to it? I hate when this happens. It's too much.
Because Kip wants to quit because he's so mad that the boss is going to take the credit. And that's, you know, that whole conversation you just mentioned where he's being convinced by Henry, like, hey, like, we're kind of in this together. And
But like, we already know that Kip and the boss have like this rivalry kind of thing. Like, I don't know. This scene was very unnecessary.
yeah, because there's no follow through, at least in this episode, because we're doing it so late in it. And it's him saying, like, I could do her job. And Henry's like, then do it. Like, you could do the job better than her, so go and do it.
Yeah.
But we don't see any of that in this episode. So, yeah, again, I think this could have been held for another episode and closed out when they closed out. Amy walks into the office, and she's saying good morning to everybody. And she heads over to Henry, and she has this, like, brown bag. And she's like, hey, I got your shoes. You left them at my house.
This is the only part of the episode that made me like literally laugh out loud.
Agreed.
See, this bothered me because now he's like, oh, thanks. And then she's yelling to everyone like, here, Henry, like, you know.
These are your shoes that you left when you slept there all night, overnight.
And that's fine. But here's a couple things that have happened. We've already done a flash forward scene where we see them living in their own apartment now. So this isn't the night after the first night we saw. It's like this was almost like aired out of order. It's maybe the scene should have been before the scene that we said should have been the last scene, and it would have made more sense.
They might have shot it like that because that's like supposed to be Monday, right? Because she said the thing was due Monday.
Because we see them settled into this apartment, and then this happens after. And I'm thinking, doesn't he live across the hall? Like, you could have just gave him his shoes at the apartment.
But then they wouldn't know that they fucked.
Well, they didn't. But also, I do think now that we're talking about it, I bet anything that they flipped the order of the scenes, that they wanted to end on this.
I mean, I don't think this should have been in the episode, but at least this is a good way to end it. And they give Tom Hanks one last funny line to end it on, like that. Well, at least she's discreet, right? Like they give him a very Hanksy way to go out. But yeah, this is probably just an editing issue. I also feel like sometimes people are making pilots, first of all, we talk about this all the time. No one ever expects any of this shit to be analyzed in the way that we do. And I don't technically think from the numbers many people care that we do. So it's an interesting scenario, but I do think that this is probably just an editing nightmare. And they're like, it's whatever, it's a pilot. This isn't even going to get reruns ever. Just people are going to watch it once and not even remember.
Yeah, well, with all that being said, that's the conclusion of the episode, and we have been talking for a bit about it, so I guess, you know, unless you guys have anything else you want to add about it, it wasn't a good situation. Before we get into it, actually, the show was placed on a great time slot, so this is like one of those things where I think it was on, like, they had it so it was like Thursday nights on ABC, it was Happy Days, Mork and Mindy, Laverne and Shirley, and Bosom Buddies for a couple of years, so...
That's a great block.
It's weird that I've heard of every other show and not this one.
Well, this only went 2 seasons, though.
Yeah.
I mean, Happy Days went so long that, like, they had to change cast out in Happy Days. Where they were like, new people run the Arnolds, and, like, people were just, like, moving off to different shows. Like, they hit that point where they were, like, doing spinoffs.
Just because Tom Hanks became Tom Hanks, I'm kind of surprised this didn't get, like, Nick at Night didn't purchase the rights to it and air it, when we were kids and all that stuff.
I'll tell you, if Nick at Night had bought it, I would have watched every episode.
Yeah.
But that's actually,
too.
too, like, part of the problem is that there's not enough episodes for, like, proper syndication runs. Like, it had some syndication, but you're only talking, it was, like, 30-something episodes. So it's not a lot of meat on the bone. But, like, toss it on, Disney Plus or something now.
Yeah, I'm not going to say I wouldn't watch more of it now if it was streaming somewhere, but it'll never be streaming somewhere. Or I'll go buy the season and they'll put it on TV. So I hope everybody gets to watch Making History, because I did buy the whole season. So because I did that, now it will become free for everybody else soon.
I did want to bring this up, actually. Do we feel that because of the nature of the show being about, like, guys dressed as women and, like, but only for the purpose of, like, their personal gain, do you think today, 2024, that show is as accepted? Like, could it fly? Or have people kind of gotten a little too, like, I don't want to say uptight, but kind of uptight?
I would say not in this context, because there's a lot of, like, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, like, jokes that insinuate the wrong thing.
And even then, I think you can dance around that stuff, but this show doesn't. I think you'd have to, I think you're right, Gordo. I think you could do it, but there'd have to be, like, an underlying different current to it.
Yeah, you'd have to have more of an acceptance.
Well, the problem is, the whole premise of the show is, hey, these boys are dressed like girls. Isn't that funny?
Exactly.
And regardless of how you feel about that topic, it's like, as a nation, I feel like that just won't fly on, like, mainstream television.
But it can still be funny. It just depends how you do it. Like, White Chicks
sure.
is the same premise, basically. And
Yeah.
that's hilarious. So it depends how you do it.
White Chicks was 20 years ago now. That's the thing.
True.
Yeah.
Also true.
I think they could do a White Chicks 2 tomorrow and people would still go see it, though, and it'd still be acceptable.
Although the Wayans brothers said they would never, because of the amount of time that makeup took. They said they will never do it again.
Oh, yeah. I wouldn't either. That sounds horrible.
Yeah, that sounds like a tough day.
That was like after Trey Parker and Matt Stone made Team America. They went, we didn't fully grasp how difficult it was going to be making a movie with marionette puppets. So
Yeah.
we're never doing that again.
But maybe somebody will make a remake of this and they'll try to make it more current. We can have Colin Hanks in it.
I don't personally think it'll ever happen.
No, let's get Chet Hanks. I want Chet Hanks dressed as a woman, please.
But only if he can do the Jamaican patois accent the entire time, too. So we can really make it uncomfortable.
It's me.
I don't want to live in this apartment dressed like a woman. Like, dude, you can't do that.
Well, now I think we've covered it all. So we might as well get into our green letter cancel. Reminder to everyone, we have no Nick and Ferg, so there will be a graphic later on our Instagram and X and all that stuff. But yeah, we'll see where it goes. Well, it depends. We only have 4 people, so it could be a tie situation. Yeah, I'll go in the order I'm seeing you in. Gordo, you're first.
I'm going to have to say this is a cancel. This is a pretty easy cancel, too. I literally started watching the clock during the intro, during the first 2 minutes. I mean, what does that tell you? Like, yeah, there were some funny parts, but, like, it wasn't written smartly, and I just didn't like it. I thought it went on too long, and I just didn't like it. So, cancel from me.
Russ.
I strongly disagree with Gordo. I thought the writing was actually pretty good. The intro, obviously, way too long, and the syndication song sucks. But I thought the writing was pretty good. I thought both Tom Hanks and other dude, whose name I don't have on the screen anymore, and I forgot.
Peter Scolari, R.I.P.
There you go. I thought they were both, like, likable and very funny, and they had good timing. And yeah, I thought it was like a feel-good show, nice, enjoyable show. I'll give it a green light, sure.
Joe.
I did like some of the writing, and I'm always on board for shows that just have a bunch of weird esoteric references to things, because I just think it's interesting and it feels like people care when they're writing to try to put interesting things into it. And I think the conceit of this show is not the worst, especially at the time, even though I think they really hammer a lot of those things home, including the scene where they're like, this is what we're doing, everybody. But that fucking wrecking ball scene and the shaky camera And the fact that this just felt like it was just way too long. I think there's some funny parts to it, and I think everybody in it is really good. But I did not enjoy my time watching this show. Them coming out of the closet to Village People, though, I think was like mind melting. And because of that, it got another bonus point where I was like, this is fucking crazy that they're doing this. But I know oftentimes we say, would you watch another episode? And not in a Ferg way where you'll hate watch all of them just to...
It sucks. I'm going to watch every episode.
Yeah, spend the hours of the little time we have on this earth being mad at something. So I have to cancel this. This is not one I would probably go back and revisit on purpose. If it was on and someone said, hey, maybe later on check out the second one to see where it goes, possibly. But I can't in good conscience say this is a good show. I love everybody in it, but this was bad.
So I've been very torn. I think Tom Hanks and Peter Scolari are both really good in it. They're fun to watch. And I think they had great chemistry, like right off the bat. But I also had a lot of issues with the storytelling and just finding all these points where I'm like, this doesn't make any sense. This doesn't make any sense. This doesn't make any sense. I could let the intro thing slip. It's weird that it was that long. The wrecking ball thing was very cringy. I think ultimately, it's tough because would I watch another episode? Yes. But I don't think this episode was particularly good. I just like the two main characters a lot. So I feel like there was a world where this episode or this premise of the show could have been written way better and it would have been like really good, but it wasn't. So I think I'm going to also give it the cancel, but I would watch another episode. I just think the show needs a lot of work. The writing was just so, I don't know. There were just too many things that felt like really lazy to me. So with that being said, right now, only 1 out of 4 for Bosom Buddies. So sorry, you don't necessarily move on with the green light, but we do have 2 more people that could put you in a rare tie situation because we don't often have guests.
Whoa, have we ever been in that situation before? We could have had a tie?
No,
We've had
cheers.
guests, so we haven't. It hasn't happened in the 2 times before because it's been deciding votes.
I think Ferg is going to greenlight it, but I think Nick is going to cancel it. So
I don't know. Nick does like Tom Hanks.
Well, make sure you go to our Instagram and find out because there will be a graphic. So I want to thank all of you guys for listening. And again, go to S1E1pod.com. That's how you'll find our Instagram and everything else. And then just a reminder, we are going to be putting up the Susan B. Anthony hotel shirt up on our T Public site. You can find that link also on our S1E1pod.com. So make sure you go and grab one of those. Make sure that all that labor to design such a difficult shirt was not put to waste. So, but thanks everyone for listening. We'll catch you again next week. Thank you again, Russ, for joining us. I forgot to give you any opportunity to plug anything, but we'll write stuff down.
yeah.
And we'll catch you guys again next week. Thank you. Goodbye.
I think we got the best mustache I wanted to grow.